Hello again from Explosive Edge Athletics. My name is Sean Mishka, and I'm Athletic Performance Director here at Explosive Edge in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. And welcome to our September newsletter. Obviously, with September starting, it's also the start of the fall sports high school season, which is an exciting time for us because we get to get out and actually see the fruits of some of our labor. Just like some of you coaches out there, and parents for that matter, you get to see your student athlete actually play and perform, and that's obviously exciting for not only you guys as athletes and parents and coaches, but us as trainers as well. We've already gotten out to a few matches, volleyball matches tonight. We'll get out to some football games. So you can always see the impact of our Explosive Edge training with those athletes and exactly what they're doing. So it's always exciting for us, but it also gives the parents the ability to see exactly where their investment is going, not only from a money standpoint, but also with the time and effort that they put forth and the commitment that they've shown with us. With that though, often comes the questions raised by other parents of what is your son or daughter doing, and why is that different from what maybe my son or daughter is doing? And sometimes, obviously, our training philosophy becomes a little bit difficult to understand simply because of scientific methodology and terminologies that we often use. So our newsletter this month is going to describe some of those things in a little greater detail so you guys have a better idea on what exactly formulates the Explosive Edge training philosophy and what makes us different and separates us from the rest, or just one of the reasons that we're different from the rest. First off, when we look at training, and the reason why our training often impacts on the field more quickly and more readily and more efficiently than other training methods is we take a huge focus in regards to the principle or the idea and the term of speed strength. That's the operative concept in our training philosophy. Speed strength being the ability to apply force rapidly or at high velocities. The reason why that is more important than any other strength characteristic, at least to us, is because we train a high number of power athletes. And when we look at power sports, football and volleyball, let's use as an example here today, you're going to see that the brief execution times of most athletic tasks in both of those sports require a huge amount of rate of force development, a high amount of rate of force development. An example of this, or a couple examples in both of our two sports, is in football when you're running at max speed during that ground support phase of running, you typically will have anywhere from about 80 to 200 milliseconds to support yourself and deliver the force. That isn't very much time, when human reaction time is probably anywhere from 140 to 160. In the jump, in a volleyball approach jump, in an optimal time frame, we're looking at about 300 milliseconds there as well. So again, not a lot of time to deliver the force, and at the same time, when the body has to do that and do that in a very quick fashion, it's required to absorb a ton of force. So you can see where our training philosophy starts to formulate and why we need to go in those specific directions during training. The force time curve, which formulates the overview and the umbrella of what explosive edge training is, uses this and shows us exactly why our training works and how our philosophy should formulate based on that. Basically what we're looking for is we're looking to try to maximize force and minimize time, creating greater impulse, which is a change in momentum resulting from a force, which is measured as a product of the force and time. So that impulse is essentially power. Sport is about power, and sport is about momentum and using it to your best advantage. So if you want to jump higher and run faster, which again sports of football and volleyball obviously are oriented around, you need to train in an explosive ballistic strength training methodology. Dr. William Kramer, probably the most prolific, most well-known, and most recognized and respected sports scientist here in the United States, terms explosive ballistics training is training movements that are accelerative in nature and achieve a high velocity and often involve actually releasing weight or a weight into free space. It could be your body, it could be a barbell weight, it could be a medicine ball, something like that. And that's where the majority of our training time is actually taken if you ask any of our athletes. Another reason why that works is because we look at the principle of triple extension which happens in sport. When you're running, jumping, changing direction, that triple extension and the training of that needs to have a huge proponent, or it is a huge proponent, in everything that you do. However, when we look at traditional strength training, you typically will actually hamper that movement, or hamper that triple extension phase. Triple extension phase, again, is where you're running or jumping. There is going to be a first peak of force when you have a downward motion and you transfer into that first upward motion. That'll be one peak of force. And as you continue to deliver that force to the ground or to an apparatus here or here, you're going to try to triple extend at either the shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist. or the hips, knees, and ankles simultaneously. And the quicker we can do that, the more we can, again, maximize that force and minimize that time. The downfall is when we look at traditional strength training is typically, number one, it happens slowly. And even if you do force yourself or require yourself to transfer force very quickly in the first change of direction of that first force development, you typically will be required to decelerate the weight as you get to the top of the rep. When you do this, you're actually training away from the way that the sport is played. That's the reason why in our training philosophy we utilize a lot of Olympic movements, which are very high velocity force production movements, as well as a high amount of plyometrics and weighted plyometrics for that matter that are of a very explosive and ballistic nature. So we know that we can simulate not only the movements that are occurring out on the field or out on the court, but also the speeds in which they are occurring. So we know that if you train fast, you're going to get fast. If you train slow, you're going to get slow. Like I always say, you're going to play the way that you train, so you better train the way that you play. That way we can get the muscle and the motor units to activate in the same fashion and at the same speeds. That's a little bit of history on why our training philosophy might be seen or getting the results that are being seen out on the court or out on the field. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us here, Sean at ExplosiveEdgeAthletics.com or 952-746-9003. For September's newsletter, if you see me out on the court or out on the field, please feel free to give me a shout and let me know. And sit down and watch some athletic movement with me. If not, we'll talk to you again next month. Thank you so much for listening.